Chinese food scandals that you won't believe. Bleached bean curds. In the case of China's bleached tofu scandal, those words rang all too true. In 2014, Chinese authorities in the Shandong province seized over 11 tons of illegally made dried tofu. It may have looked perfect, but it turned out to be toxic. It had been produced by a local gang who thought they could turn a quick buck by making the tofu with the banned ingredient rongolite. It's an industrial bleaching agent often used in the printing and dyeing industry. While it made the dried tofu steaks whiter and chewier, the formaldehyde gas it releases during the cooking process can lead to headaches, vomiting, and even serious diseases. Authorities feared that local markets around Shandong, Henan and Jiangxi provinces had been sold over 110 tons of the toxic tofu. Blood-based tofu. Despite the name, China's bright red blood tofu has never seen a drop of soy milk in its life. It's one of the grislier foodstuffs to come out of this confusing culinary creation, as it's made almost exclusively from coagulated duck or pig's blood. It's heated with salt to congeal it into blocks, which are then used in a variety of traditional soups and dishes. In 2013, 4 businessmen from the Henan province were arrested for making and selling around 530,000 pounds of poisoned blood tofu at local markets. The operation had lined their pockets with a whopping $75,000, but at a moral cost. They'd mixed it with concentrated formaldehyde, which is known in its liquid form as formalin. Mixing it with the blood tofu gave the product a longer shelf life and a brighter color, but consuming formaldehyde can cause serious liver damage and kidney dysfunction. Exploding watermelons. As hilarious as this concept sounds, exploding watermelons were less of a joke and more of a nightmare for Jiangsu province's farmers back in 2011. After a period of heavy rain, 115 acres filled with unripe watermelons suddenly started to burst. One farmer reported that it happened so fast, at least 80 melons in his crop split open in a matter of hours. While many claim they didn't know what had caused this mysterious melon massacre, Professor Wang Liangzhu from Nanjing University inspected the crops, and discovered the root of the problem. The farmers had used a plant growth stimulant called Forchlerfenurn. It's a legal additive that should have brought the melon harvest forward by 2 weeks, and increased the size of the fruit by about 20%. Bay of Pigs. In 2013, over 16,000 pig carcasses were discovered along the shores of the Huangpu River in Changjing City. It became a huge concern as the Huangpu is a major source of drinking water for the area's locals, and the thought of decaying pig particles in your drink isn't exactly appealing. Mystery surrounded the swimming swine's lethal demise, until lab tests revealed that many of the pigs had been affected by porcine circovirus. This is a disease that causes breathing difficulties, diarrhea, and sometimes demise. Bad bottled water. In 2013, China's bottled water industry faced a serious scandal when it was revealed one company had looser water safety standards than the nation's tap water. Nongfa Spring, which once produced 21.8% of China's bottled water, was accused by the Beijing Times of filtering its water to a regional safety standard rather than the national standard. This regional standard, called DB 33383, had last been updated in 2005, while the national regulation had been changed in 2007. The older, looser guidelines stated that levels of disease-causing elements like arsenic could be double that of the national limit. Traces elements of a heavy metal called cadmium, which can cause respiratory problems, were allowed at 5 times the national level. Nasty fast food. Fast food giant Starbucks, KFC, and McDonald's may all look different at a brand level, but their Chinese branches all became part of a rotten scandal back in June 2014. A TV report exposed one of their suppliers, Shanghai Hussey Food Company, for using expired meat in their products. Workers at the company's factory were secretly filmed mixing expired packages of meat in with fresh produce. They even picked up meat off the dirty ground and hurled it back into production. The report hit McDonald's right in the McNuggets, and led to a 7.3% drop in Asian market sales in July 2014, which dropped even further to 14.5% in August 2014. But it wasn't the only chain being supplied with the out-of-date meat. Some of KFC's restaurants and Starbucks cafes had also used Shanghai Hussy. And big brands like Papa John's, Pizza Hut, Domino's, Burger King, and even IKEA used them in the past as well. In the end, 5 employees were arrested, with an investigation concluding that the entire operation had been organized by the company to skimp on production costs. Fake hot pot. Hot pot is a Chinese dish that is exactly what it says on the tin, or, in this case, pot. It's a large hot pot filled with a scrumptious simmering broth accompanied by various meats, vegetables, and sauces that you cook at your table. It may sound superb, but in 2015, a Chinese nutritionist blew the lid off a hot pot scandal sweeping the nation. It may look like he's making a hearty soup, but it's more like a drug stew. Instead, he just mixes ethyl maltol, capsicum, indistinct, and disodium 5-ribonucleotides into boiling water, which is a way of saying he thickened the water and added flavor enhancers. This outrageous video was blasted over Chinese media, alerting the public to the drastic cost-cutting methods used in some restaurants.